Hi, Juan Pablo. My name is Lynn Rothschild, and I'm an evolutionary biologist, microbiologist, and most recently a synthetic biologist at NASA Ames Research Center in California. And I also do some teaching. I have an adjunct position at Brown University in Rhode Island and at the University of California, Santa Cruz. As part of my job, I do a lot of public lecturing, I do field research, and occasionally I even film documentaries. So I just, in fact, came back from Australia where I was giving some lectures, and then the last few days I was out in the field with the film crew filming for a documentary on life in the universe.
Wow, wonderful, wonderful. Very nice to meet you, Lynn. My name is Juan Pablo Marrufo del Toro, and I am a Jesuit priest. I've been a Jesuit for 13 years.
You can't be that old.
I'm very old.
They must take them very young.
I joined the society when I was 24, and I was just ordained a priest over 1 year ago in Los Angeles, in Hollywood, California.
So you're a Hollywood priest.
I'm a Hollywood priest. I studied systematic theology and spiritual theology, specializing in faith and science dialogue. It's a lot of astronomy and astrobiology and creation, and how God relates to the world and how we better understand God through our better understanding of the universe. As you scan the universe, are you looking for possible conditions for life or possible consequences that life is there, or a combination of both?
Well, it's a combination of everything. Honestly, what I would love as a biologist is to catch one alive. Okay. I sound like a hunter, but if we had something we could poke and prod and study, that would be fabulous. That would be the best. But the chance of doing that in the near future is fairly slim. I mean, even if there's a life form on Mars, we don't have a sample return mission on the books for the United States or Europe or Japan or any of the spacefaring countries for at least another 10 to 20 years, which is depressing as a biologist. So what's the next best thing? Bringing back fossil evidence. In 1996, there was a lot of excitement, right? The Mars meteorite, a meteorite that came from Mars, and there was evidence that the authors on the study suggested that it had fossil microbes. And this was something that, people may dismiss, it's only microbes and they're only dead microbes. But this was an announcement that was on the front page of every newspaper over the world. So, even a dead fossil microbe is exciting. It turns out that interpretation was probably not correct, but still, that was incredibly exciting. Now, one other little thing on the fossils, there are a couple of kinds of fossils that scientists study. One are the sort of fossils that you might think about when you go to a natural history museum, dinosaur bones, or you see bones of, or casts of the little hominid Lucy. So those are really cool when you actually see the structure. And in fact, the oldest sorts of real fossils that we have on the Earth do look like little scratches and so on. But what we do see in particular are communities, which we call stromatolites. These look exactly like some of the formations that I was looking at in Australia a few weeks ago. And these are formed by microorganisms that trap the sand and form these very hard structures. Stromo is laminated and light would be actually a rock. So these are like lithograph. So these are sort of like black rocky benches that sort of look like a giant muffin that are formed by microbes. And again, we see this in the earliest fossil record. However, we actually have some evidence even earlier that's a chemical fossil. So, for example, we go back even further to about 4.3 billion years ago. These stromatolites are about 3.5 billion years ago. And that's a long time. I mean, It's even older than I am, okay? We tend to think as humans in 100-year increments. We're knowing about 3.5 billion, not million, billion years ago for the earliest fossils. The Earth is, 4.6 billion years old, roughly? Well, the Earth, when it formed, of course, was very hot because you get these rocks hitting each other and so on. And so one of the things we look for is zircon crystals. Now that sounds very sort of Star Trek or Superman or something. It turns out zircon crystals only form when there's liquid water. And so if you can find a zircon crystal that's really old, it indicates there was already liquid water. And those have been found way back 4.4 billion years ago. So that means that at least you then have the conditions for life of liquid water.
It's been great talking to you, Lynn.
It's
Thank
been
you
a real
very much.
pleasure, Juan Pablo.
Thank you very much for
Look
this
forward to doing it
opportunity.
again.